Okay, we're ready. Okay, I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting, Tuesday, January 10th, 2023 at 5 p.m. It's being held in council chambers temporarily located at 38 King George Street in Lake Cowichan and transmitted electronically. And we are thankful that our meeting is being held on the Suboxet lands where we live, work, and recreate together in harmony. Introduction of any late items? Yes,
I
Mayor.
think we'll do a leave of absence for Councillor Sam Bid for tonight's meeting.
If we want to do the whole line or just this one?
I think we'll do the meeting by meeting, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anything else? No business, so other than the rules,
Yes, we did two businesses.
leave of absence.
Please.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition? Councillor Frisbee, Councillor Bomashka, all in favor? Thank you. Minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held on December 13th, 2022. Councillor Bomashka, you chaired that? Yes, I did. Thank you.
So I will move those minutes with the following recommendations. That the committee recommend that staff be authorized to approve change orders on the municipal hall renovation project with a report back to committee on such approvals. That the committee recommend approval of change orders numbered from number 3 to number 9, and that the committee recommend that council authorize the continuation of the municipal hall project into the new year so that the project may be completed by March of 2023. That the committee recommend that council approve the supply and installation of an automatic generator at the municipal hall from Frontier Power Products in the amount of $93,901.65 plus GST. That the committee recommend approval of Lake Cowichan Fire Department's incident report in the amount of $14,510.41 for October of 2022. That the committee recommend approval of the fee increases for 2023 as was presented in the draft Town of Lake Cowichan fees and services bylaw schedules. That the committee recommend that the town charge all developments for newly developed lots or multifamily units a fee of $1,200 per unit to undertake upgrades to the water main supply line. That the committee recommend that a proposal call be issued to qualified engineering consultants for evaluating and analyzing the optimum upgrade required for the water main feed from our water treatment plant, with the provision that we require detailed cost estimates. That the committee recommend that the town of Lake Cowichan apply for funding for the removal and reconstruction of the walking bridge from Otaki Park to the Riverside Park, known as the Duck Pond, through the Rural Economic Diversification and Infrastructure Program. That the committee recommend that a leave of absence for Councillor Frisbee from December 15th, 2022 to January 10th, 2023 be approved. And that is
the seconder for that? For Frisbee? Any questions? Yes.
Just to follow up on that meeting, I know that the Chamber of Commerce are holding a question and answer session with 4BI over that current report. Has staff reached out to 4BI at all on the tourism report?
No. Well, that was the original TAVI. It's now called 4BI, the tourism report. To see if they want to come and explain that.
Do you want to invite them?
Yeah.
Do we still want to do that even though they're holding a question and answer with the chamber.
If I may, Madam Chair, why don't we wait and see how the business meeting at the chamber goes? Perhaps your questions could be answered at that point. So I think there's a couple of councillors that will be attending that, and they can report back to the remainder of us on what transpired within that meeting. Should there be a request afterwards, then we can certainly reach out for a follow-up if we need more clarification or more one-on-one. Would that suffice?
For sure.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, yes,
Just another follow-up from the previous meeting of the whole. Is there any updates on 65 Calchin Lake Road as far as cleaning up their property?
No updates.
No updates?
thank you. All those in favor of accepting the minutes? Carried, thank you.
And before we continue, Madam Chair, would it not be appropriate just to receive these minutes? The recommendations will come forward to council and then be endorsed at that.
Actually, they did.
So these have already been endorsed
I was,
at the previous
Yes,
council.
I didn't want to interrupt Council
Oh,
Bonat. It would just
You
be
did
for,
such a great job, so
no,
at the next committee of the whole for these minutes, we will just receive them as information.
for information. Yeah, I've written that in now, but I should have written it in before, so I didn't want to interrupt you.
She did a great job.
It's all right. Now we know more stuff. We remember because it seems like it was 100 years ago. Okay, thank you. Business arising and unfinished business, none. Delegations, none. Correspondence, none. Information and consent items, none at the moment. So we start with reports. Director of Finance. You got strategic, wait a minute, what have you got first? I got two different agendas here because you sent a new one after I didn't watch anymore. So finance at the moment. Okay,
Thank you, Councillor Austin. The statements are there. Surplus, you have to remember, will change. We're still doing year-end adjustments. We ended off the year with Lakeview Park with a surplus. The education center is in the deficit balance. However, the loss is much lower than anticipated and much lower than the budget for 2022. So we started work on the budget for 2023 to 2027. As you know, the budget outlays the plan the town has to provide the necessary services and the capital projects for the next year, and how the funds will be raised to provide those services. And just thought for interest, I would put in the total labor costs of town Lake Couch in 2023, over 2 million. Not too different from what it was in 2022. And had some positions that need to be filled. Questions?
question after that. Mayor McGonigal.
Thank you.
Say Mayor.
I've made that mistake in the past as the transition came forward. Through you, if I may, to Ms. Gill. So as we're working forward on the budget, what I would like to personally see is each department manager come forward to council with some considerations of what is required to provide the services to an expanding town, whether there is capital or personnel issues that may be addressed within the budget process. That can be forwarded to council for discussion as well. I think that would be helpful, so we know the encompassing picture of where we are moving forward. We've seen some considerable growth in the community, and people are expecting excellent service, and I think it's incumbent on us to try to provide that with whatever capacity we can within the budget constraints. If that is possible in our budget discussions, I hope we can accommodate that for at least discussion. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Frisbee?
I think it's important for me to acknowledge the efforts of Dalton and the Calchin Lake Education Centre on what they've been able to do this year, and especially with the budget. They've done a fantastic job, and with my comments prior to me being a councillor, I should acknowledge that Dalton's not here. They're obviously doing a great job there. If I may ask another question on that, so the summer students' wages is around 69,000. But we only apply for a summer student grant of $2,000. Is there something we can expand on that?
We do try and expand, try and get as many students as we can. We were fortunate in the prior year, we got 15,000.
Yeah.
But that was because of COVID. They have local priorities, and funding requirements that you have to meet, so it's easier to get funding for certain jobs than other jobs.
Yeah.
It's easier to get funding for tourism, things like visitor center, than it is for the campground.
Would the campground fit under tourism?
It does.
Yeah.
And we have in the past received, but it's supply and demand and how much money.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Councillor Bonaka?
Yeah, I just want to ask, business licenses, Ms. Gill, usually runs around 19,000. And then it jumped to actuals to 47,000.
Oh,
Such
yeah.
a huge
I just
increase.
need to move 2023's been billed. I just need to move that out into deferred revenue. So that's not, yeah.
Oh,
So that's 2 years in there. So I will,
Yeah,
like I said, part of the year end adjustments, we've done the billing, but I haven't done all the adjustments to move that out.
so we have new businesses, but that was quite a sharp increase. Yeah. Thank you.
Anything? Oh, sorry, Mayor.
One more, if I may, through you to Ms. Gill, just wondering on the audited financial statements and the timelines for that. If you have it offhand.
They'll be coming in March, towards the end of March, to finish the year-end audit, and then we'll get statements hopefully early May, or we have to have them passed by May 15th. So it usually it's a time crunch because every municipality's got the same deadline.
And a follow-up, if I may, and that will give us an indication of what the true surpluses are.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. If we have to move that. Financial, no, we don't. It's just for information. Okay. Moving it here. We're moving on to the fire department, incident report. Any questions on it? That it's $17,516.55. Do I have a motion to pay that? Mayor Mabanda and Councilor Wanaka, any questions? Yes.
Just thanks to staff for the work on relocation. I think that's the
Yeah.
request that we had, and we thank you for that.
Any other questions? No? All those in favor? Okay. Moving on to review of the strategic plan for the future. Oh, here. Did we have any discussion?
Municipal Hall.
Oh, did that get stuck in a different spot? Okay, sorry.
All good.
Municipal Hall update. Any questions on that? Councilor Crispy.
Mayor staff, have we had any updates on change order 10 and
Yes, it'll be coming to the council the next time around. In fact, I'll have a discussion with Donovan on that issue. Those some legal issues surrounding that.
Anything else on? This just is just here for information. Now we go to strategic planning. This is just here for information as well. Is there any other?
And if I may start, I think this is just to show where we have come in our previous strategic plan. And moving forward, I think we should dedicate a day to going through and tweaking our strategic plan to what is accomplishable. We did have some grandiose ideas within the implementation of this, no different than a number of other communities, but as we've saw that it worked through, I think we can tweak what we can truly accomplish within the 5-year strategic plan and give staff more of an indication of where our highest priorities are. So this is to show what has been accomplished within our initial one. And moving forward, I think a day session of some sort, if everyone's available for that, would be appropriate to go through this, tweak the ones that have been accomplished and finished, and then accommodate perhaps another 2 or 3 years on the tail end of the strategic plan.
Councilor Frisbee first.
Okay, well, I think prior to even beginning the budget process, this would probably be a good exercise, so that will give staff guidance as to what we should be looking for over the next 5 years. And at some point, we should be looking at the next cycle. We're not just dealing with the past. Dealing with the next cycle.
Councillor Frisbee?
I know, I see that, Centennial Hall's second phase of that is stated in this. Now, there has been a grant applied for the second phase,
Second phase, a couple.
and is that based on the original plan of the? Are we at all going to revisit the plan for the second phase for Centennial Park?
That would be a
And if you feel it appropriate to readdress some of the intentions within that second phase, that would be more appropriate, whether you wanted to tone it down a bit or look at different accommodations within that second phase, that would be more than appropriate. And again, we should be doing that before we do our update on our strategic plan and our budget. So we do have some work to do prior to our budget process on prioritizing. But I think there's opportunities moving forward to continue with grant applications for recreation phase, whether it's in the rural economic development initiative or any other opportunities, and try to accommodate some improvements within Centennial Park.
Councillor Frisbee?
Just to follow up on that, what would the process be to dive into that? Like, when would be appropriate to, would that be in the session you're talking about, the day long one, or?
We could accommodate, if I may, Madam Chair, we could accommodate that within our strategic plan process and look at the Centennial, not only the Centennial Hall application, but perhaps the sewer treatment plan and how they prioritize within the strategic plan. That would probably be important in the budget process.
Prior to budget, so prior to May, definitely prior to probably would be March would be a good time.
And I think it's important that everybody be here, so we'll wait for Councillor Sandhu's return.
Yeah.
But we can do some background work prior to that happening, just get all the information available and the original phasing plan for Centennial upgrades that we can all look over and maybe see what could be accommodated in that.
Thank you. We're going down to number, excuse me, 4, contract planner re-updating town of Lake Cowichan subdivision works and services bylaw. So this is also for information. Is there any comment, Mr. Fernandez?
yes, I could indeed. As a result of the bylaw, the subdivision bylaw coming to council in December, there was a request that more additional information be provided as to why the bylaw has been changed. And so as a result, I asked Mr. Van Heuvel to write up the synopsis of just exactly what it is that has been changed. And council needs to be aware that this has been an 18-month process. APC spent a fair bit of time on this issue, gone back and forth, and James has also dealt with staff on this issue, and we were all basically on side. And I think superintendent has to concern with the road with. And if you look at the old bylaw, subdivision bylaw, and the one currently proposed, there's really not a lot of differences other than the added 2 more categories of the types of roads. And those are local roads, which is a little bit narrow. Otherwise, I think the bylaw is fit. It's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think this is the second go at this in my time here. And there was some concerns on road widths in the phasing of local roads in the previous discussion on access and egress for emergency equipment, snow plows, etc. I haven't looked at the profile in the new proposal, but I do recall that there was some concerns. If I could reach over to our superintendent and have some input on what your concerns were.
Some of the concerns are the emergency vehicle. I spoke with fire chief, and their concern is that you get narrow streets, and part of the thing is saying you can park on one side. people are gonna park on their sides no matter what you drive. And they're concerned of getting fire trucks and ambulances there. That's one. The half street thing, we did that, we just did one, a subdivision on Elk Road. Did the 3 meter width. And it didn't turn out very good. We're stuck with it now. They put the curbs and everything in, and it's really narrowed up Elk Road in that section of it. It's a 3 lot subdivision, but it'll be expanded. It's not a good thing. It's got to be wider than 3 meters. Even if it's a half a road, it's really restricted road there. The other big one, like Tim, you're saying, it was brought up before, it's snow flying. My concern is all these curves going in and out is very difficult. Plows are gonna hit them and break them, and as you know, that's cost. Maintenance costs, it slows our crews down, and we break curves, you're gonna have to fix them, cost money. So,
Okay, follow up if I may, and we have some indications of narrow local collector roads within our strata developments within town, whether in Brookside or Lake Park Estates, that do prove problematic. I think when you look at the streetscape that was provided previously, it works within a transit-driven community where people are out of their cars and utilizing other modes of transportation. I think when we rely so heavily on our vehicles for transportation to and from work, and each home has 2 to 3 vehicles, some of these could be problematic in the future. And I'm just raising this as a possible concern. So that was one of the concerns that was broached last time this was brought forward as well, I believe. So just a little bit of history there, Madam Chair.
Councilor Wamaka first.
Yeah, the one that I have a concern about is bike lanes on both sides of the street. You got parking on 2 sides, bike lanes on 2 sides, and I think that's kind of a recipe for disaster, logging trucks, commercial vehicles. So,
People getting doored,
yeah,
which happens a lot in the big city. Yes, Mr.
Yeah, I
Fernandez.
agree with Councilor Maca. Bike lane, and the other issue is parking on both sides.
Yeah.
That narrows the drivable part of the road. So those are the 2 areas of concern, I think. But if you were to look at the 2 bylaws, they're very similar. It's just a parking issue and the issue with bike lane more of a concern. And I think the issue that both curbs maybe also an issue. So I think if you look at all those 3 items, we could probably better resolve it.
To clean that up at the APC and then bring it back.
It's actually now with council. If you see the way.
Okay. Because I had trouble with the bike lanes too. You really can't do bike lanes on the major roads with it's not the trucks so much, it's the medians in the middle of the road. And I mean, they know that, there's only a couple of wide enough roads that you could actually put one side on.
Yeah.
And even some of the ones in Duncan, they go along and then they stop all of a sudden and there's no bike lane. So I think we have to I know people want it and everything, but I think we kind of have to, our town's not set up for that really.
And you've given 2 reasons. Wow, that's the reason why.
Yeah.
Council Sandu decided not to go with the 3rd reading.
Yes,
So if you want to make changes.
this is the time. Okay.
And this would be the opportunity for the input, such as the discussion tonight. One thing I do agree with, if I may, Madam Chair, within James' comments is the lack of consistency in sidewalk widths, et cetera. I think that's important that for especially mobile issues with people in scooters and other aspects of mobility, that they be standard wide sidewalks where there can be a scooter and a walker pass each other on each sidewalk. With those concerns, would it be possible to incorporate some changes within those with yourself and James?
Yes, well, I'm meeting James next week, so we'll go through this again. And raise those concerns.
Okay, perfect. And if Councillor Sandu is watching and if she has some concerns, she can reach out as well as afforded to anything that might be her problem.
Well, I think if I may, the issue was a number of years ago, council that wanted to make sure that streets were safe, that people were not speeding. That's one of the reasons why we're looking at constricting the streets and putting in curbs, just to make people slow down. I mean, we had a letter from somebody who upset when people were speeding. Right, so those are issues that we have to address.
And they will anyway. I have to drive down Southland, and so does Councilor Womack and Mr. Sandu. And I can't tell you the number of times people have gone through that four-way stop at Pine when we're sitting there waiting to go, and they just go right through, and they do speed. And the trouble is there's two hills. So if you're pulling out of one street, there's the hill coming up and they speed up, and there's the hill going down. So I don't know. We certainly don't want to be like Campbell River with a four-way or three-way stop at every other street. But I think it's, the public's going to do certain things, and I think we just have to.
Or crosswalks at every corner.
We can't do that. Yeah, we can't really, not at every point. You'd have to, downtown is the right place. Councilor Frisbee.
Yeah, may I just comment on the bike lanes? Obviously both sides, I think, isn't required, and I haven't seen many setups where there is bike lanes on both sides. But I think it is important to accommodate bike lanes in some way where we can. Obviously during the summer, there's a lot of bike traffic coming through here, so it wouldn't be something that we want to see taken out completely, but the both sides things is something that we don't.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Fernandez, for listening to our concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Sandu, for your comments as well. Okay, where are we? I'm lost. Okay. Are we going on to the new code of ethics? Is this just a
This is
review?
the review, but I don't think you've had time to look at it,
No,
so you may want to just refer this.
refer it back to the regular meeting. You want to do that? Have you made changes to what we had
No
before?
change, it's the
No.
same.
Don't we sign this when we get signed in? So,
But you may want to look at making some changes for the next time.
Oh, I see.
gifts and favors. Okay, all right.
So if I may, Madam Chair,
Yes.
it's been legislated that those communities with codes of conduct, review them within 6 months of the election. Those that do not have codes of conduct or code of ethics must state why they do not want to implement one. I think the province has seen some goings on within different councils that is problematic for democracy and good governance. And that is why it was legislated to at least have the discussion whether or not you would like one, if you do have one, to review it. I did broach this subject with our CAO on how we can incorporate something similar to North Cowichan, where there is some, and I'm not suggesting that there will be this body, but just to protect the corporation if there is a need for a councillor to be reprimanded, that there be some financial repercussions for that. And I think that has not been challenged legally, whether or not it can be incorporated in the code of conduct. But that document resides within this body, within the elected officials. So I don't see that could be a problem. We will get a legal advice on that when it's challenged in other communities. It has been implemented in North Cowichan for a number of years and used to remove people from committees and attending conferences, etc. So that's just one thing that I would like to see within that document. And we can certainly work forward on that on our next committee of the whole, perhaps. If you have any suggestions or additions that you feel, if you want to look through different communities on theirs and get an idea, feel free, but we'll include this in our next one for finalization, and we do need to approve it within the next couple of months, or leave it as is.
On that note too, I know this is a bit off topic, but I know some of us have done the UBCM online course, Foundational Principles of Responsible Conduct. Did everybody do that? It's quite a good course. It's quite easy. And it's really important because it gives you some insight into how you should behave in certain circumstances and treat people and different things like that. So that's part of our code of ethics, or conduct or whatever. Okay, anything else on that? No? Okay. Moving down to Parks, Recreation, Culture. Is there anything on that? Or are you just gonna go straight to BC Hydro beautification fund? Is that correct? Okay, who would like to speak to that?
I think that's could be part of it. Yeah.
BC Hydro beautification.
I
fund.
think Councillor Frisbee was looking at implementing in-ground delivery of hydro, et cetera, when we were doing upgrades within the sewer and water lines. And we were gonna bring that forward for some discussion, but we did have a discussion, if I may, Madam Chair, previously along the main street of removing the hydro poles on there, and I believe it was almost $1 million a block to accommodate that. We do incorporate that within our new subdivision developments, that it is underground services, whether it's hydro, cable, and telephone. So moving forward, if there is large capital projects with water and sewer and accommodating road patching, et cetera, paving, that could be an opportunity to see how that could be incorporated into the budget. It would be a considerable cost to do that, but it would certainly mitigate some of the problems within lack of power and services and they're interrupted. So if we do move forward on those, I think we could implement that into the budget discussion and then consider how that would impact taxation. If that,
Yeah, sorry, that was something before, it's just I didn't recognize the title. It was more on, yeah, just like you stated, when we do open up the ground, like maybe at Greendale, we can go after other services that could go on the ground as well, which I've actually talked to Jazz about prior to this meeting. So that was something I did want to bring on the radar, that if we do open up the ground, let's try and get as many services in the ground as we can, but I guess that's a budgetary discussion as well.
but if I may, it's certainly something we can add to that discussion when we do look at those capital projects and what the impact of moving those in ground will be to the cost of the project.
Now, the paving on Greendale, that is ours, but they do the sewer. So if we were to do other things, we would be on the hook for the other. If we were to.
Then I know we would be on the hook,
Yeah,
because talking to Ted Olek yesterday, they used to fund 1/3 of the underground beautification program. Now they won't, that got suspended, so it would be entirely on, you know, basically
Taxpayers.
our responsibility to do that.
okay. Well, we'll still talk about it.
If I may, like if we have like the communications, I know we've got quite a bit running through town on power poles, that would be something else that we could look at getting in ground as well. So I don't know what the cost on that would be, but it would be something we should be trying to do.
We need a payday on.
Piggybacking on that, there is currently a communications strategy study being done for our area through the Cowichan Valley Regional District. It includes connectivity issues with ourselves, did it at First Nation and Satlam on gaps in connectivity. So when that report comes forward, that could probably accommodate some of those discussions as well.
Wasn't there a due date on that, Paul? I think it was.
It hasn't been presented, I mean, it hasn't
Okay.
been presented to the board yet for discussion or. acceptance.
They said December 15th, they came to
Yeah.
the APC, yeah,
It hasn't come to the board.
maybe they've just stretched it out, they can do that, I guess.
Thank you.
Anything else from anybody? Okay, we're moving right along. Select committee, the Otaki Twinning Select Committee. Did you want to speak to this, Mr. Fernandez?
Yeah, just that the package select committee, the way it was set up, it doesn't meet legislation. So basically, the select committee should have very little council representation. It should be a committee that's run by the group with one member of council, one or two members of council sitting on. The way we've had it before is all of council plus maybe two public. So really, at the end of the day, it's a council committee, not committee for the council.
I maybe should report on, I had a meeting with all the parents and students last night, and we're having another one tomorrow night. To try and get this going, and I basically said that the parents are running the committee. I'm just like a facilitator. I've invited a few people that have been to Japan before to come on Wednesday again, and we've got some ideas on different things to do. Might change the way we do things, so. I agree that you don't want the whole of town. I remember being on one of the first ones, and it just seems. Like, it's up to the parents and to be running this community as far as I'm concerned. It's they're doing the fundraising. That's my take on it. I've been working on it with Ayoko today as well and different things, so. That's,
I think a select committee is the way to go, the avenue to go. We incorporated the council committee when there was a lack of interest from the public to be involved. But there seems to be a little bit more uptick in the amount of people who are interested this time. I would like to have a select committee with 2 council members on there, and then move forward and report back to council on the goings on within that committee. And I'll yield to our CAO.
Yeah, the select committee should be made, the majority should be made. Non-tax.
Yes, yes. So there are currently how many parents?
well, what I had last night was, I believe, 14 parents and 11 or 12 students, because some of them were husband and wife. And I do have a secretary and a treasurer sorted out, but I couldn't seem to talk anybody into being a chair or a vice chair. So that's why I said, go home and think about all the stuff that we have to do and come back tomorrow night. And see who they can get. And I've got some more work. I've been emailing all day, and I'll be doing some more tomorrow back and forth with the travel agent and everything else. So I'm hoping they all come back. A lot of them were a bit stunned, I think, because it did sound like, you know, it was going to be a big job and it's only 6 months. So I have an idea that I want to bring forward tomorrow with them to see what they think. So I went to Miss Patty's class and got the kids involved in that, and she has organized a couple of kids to come as well. And so that's how it's worked out. And I'm going to talk to the principal as well, because she actually went to Japan, I think, when she was teaching. I think, or at least she was part of, she knows. So I'm going to talk to her as well. And I thought it would be really neat to get someone from school board to go, seeing as the Otaki people have. Is it Yoshi that comes, the previous superintendent of school, the school board? So that would be really, really interesting to have a school board representative. So anyway, the meeting is tomorrow night at 6 for anybody that wants to come, and I hope everybody shows up at the school. No, right here. Oh, here. And I've invited Alvin Hedden because he just came back from Japan, and Duncan Brown as well.
Through you, if I may, to Joseph, would it be appropriate to implement that select committee tonight, or wait for
the meeting.
the meeting and see what?
Then I can set up a filter.
And
Excellent.
put it in the regular meeting.
Yeah, just
Okay.
Thank you.
I did send them all the terms of reference and things, but this old terms of reference that we have in here does say that it's all of council and it needs to be updated. So
it'll be changed.
I told them that that was just the old one from 2014 and things will change.
Thank you.
And they're the boss.
So on that note, I would hope that Councillor Austin would be one of those, and Councillor Bonacca could perhaps be the
Sure.
other
Sure.
as those, but that's something just to think about before we implement that select committee. If you're interested, please just let me know, and we'll put those names forward when that select committee comes forward. Will come.
I'll come.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, where are we? Was there anything new added that I forgot? Oh, leave of absence for Councillor Sandu for tonight.
I think in terms of reference, they will be updated and
Yeah.
returned back to us.
That's why I was just bypassing.
Excellent. And if I may, Madam Chair, I'd like to move a leave of absence for Councillor Sandu for tonight's meeting.
Seconder? Councillor Bonacca? All in favor? Thank you. And we wish you a speedy recovery. Notices of motion? Did you have one?
No, sorry. it's just-
I think Mr. Frisbee mentioned something earlier.
For an update.
No, that's a new camera item, I believe.
Okay, all right, so that will be on the regular.
Yes.
Okay. So question period, everything okay? The question period, maximum 3 minutes per speaker, maximum time allotted 15 minutes. Limited to the items on the agenda and may be phoned in at 250-749-6681, extension 108, or emailed to general@lakepublishing.ca. And please note, you can always, when you see the agendas on the Friday, if you have questions, you can email in advance. Again, you may phone 749-6681, extension 108, or email to general@lakepublishing.ca. It'll take 3 minutes and we'll be back at 5:45. My mind. So many notes on here, I'm going crazy.
Unmute.
Are we ready? Did we receive any phone calls or emails regarding the agenda this evening? None? Did we have some comments from our member on the floor, on a chair on the floor? None this evening. Well, thank you. Okay, I guess that's it for this evening. There's no in camera this evening. I just need a motion to adjourn.